Hey, gorgeous friends. Welcome to another episode of The Late Bloomer Show. I am so glad that you're here. Today, I'm doing a live coaching session. I just got off it actually, and it was such fire. Marissa and I went so deep into her shrinking her needs, why that is. Something that really struck me in her application was when she said, I've had 3 past relationships where I've stayed long after I knew things were over. I want to break that pattern and find an amazing partner. And so we get into how to break a pattern that's been around for a while, especially if you have an underlying belief that you are unworthy of what you want. You're definitely going to want to listen to this entire episode. It is full of gems and a homework assignment at the end for Marissa that I know will help you too in your love life to magnetize the best dates of your life, even if you feel like a late bloomer, even if you don't know how to get over a past relationship, even if you have found yourself in the same pattern again and again and again. It's not too late. You can get what you want, and let this conversation be the kickstart that you need. Let's get into the episode. Hi, Marissa. Hello. I'm so excited for this. How are you feeling about this?
I'm very excited. I've been counting down the hours and days and telling all of my friends about this. So very excited. I'm
Oh,
I'm known as the one in the friend group that always has a lot of exciting dating stories. So
okay.
excited to be on the podcast with you.
Okay, well, we're gonna get into all of it. I'm wondering, I ask everybody before we start, what is a brag? So something that you want to celebrate, and what's an intention for this session?
Oh, wow. I guess a brag would be, I guess, just in general. I picked up my life and moved to Spain about 2 years ago. So my dating life has changed a lot, Canada to Spain, which has been interesting. And I think an intention would be to just be present in this moment with you and come away with some takeaways that I can actually action after today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool. I love that. I'm going to be taking notes throughout, and I've already
perfect.
taken some notes from your application. But, in your application, you shared, I recently broke up with my boyfriend and I'm having trouble moving on. I'm realizing there will be great people out there, maybe even better than I had. I feel like my new bar is so high, I'll be alone forever.
Oh,
Would
wow.
love how to learn how to let go. How are you feeling? Like, does
Yeah.
that still resonate?
Wow. Wow. So this is now a couple months later. I would say bits of this still resonate. I think it's one of those things that I think when a breakup first happens, not only is it an emotional change on like a psychological level, but also just like not having someone and feeling that sense of starting from scratch. But I think I've come a little way in the sense that I think I've gotten back the faith that there's no way there's millions of people out there and I'm going to be alone forever. So I think
Okay.
that mentality has shifted, at least
Yeah.
slightly. Yes.
What do you
Yeah.
attribute that to?
I think it's been marinating in the breakup, as hard as
Mm,
that is. I took a lot longer than I thought. I think I often feel this sense of having to rush through feelings to get to the next person, to the next date.
mm,
But I just felt really low for a long time and just allowed myself to actually just feel that fully. But it was an
mm.
ongoing process with myself to really feel okay to be not okay for longer than I hoped. It kept being like, okay, when is it going to feel better?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that I would imagine a lot of self-judgment with the like, when is it going to feel better? I don't like feeling this way, which makes total sense.
Yeah, because I think you like feel not like yourself. Like you feel like your
And I'm
your
going to
light has
ask
been
you
dimmed.
to
Yeah.
speak from the I. So when you say
Yeah.
you feel like I would invite you to own your story, like
Yeah.
go for it. So like,
Yeah, like I consider myself a pretty bubbly, outgoing, full of life person, and I really felt like the dimmed, dark version that was covered
mm,
by gloom. Like I had friends visiting,
mm,
and I was trying to pretend like I didn't feel the way that I felt. Like I definitely felt
mm,
almost guilt because it was like, why can't I be the same person I was before this breakup? Why am I allowing it to affect me so much? Just a lot of guilt, a lot of
yeah,
self guilt. Yeah,
hmm,
and I just wanted to fast forward to the good part.
yeah,
That how do I get
yeah.
that feeling back of being myself?
Yeah, of course you wanted to fast forward. Like not feeling good feels good and not feeling good doesn't feel good. I don't
It
want it.
doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. And I think I'd forgotten life before because I think like you forget about all the fun sometimes that you have when you're dating, and then suddenly you find someone and then you're in a relationship, and so
Mhm.
you forget the fun that also is dating. So I think the initial
Mhm.
shock is just like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. I'm never gonna find someone that's now set this new bar. And navigating that. I think loss also, because I think we try to victimize ourselves a little
And
bit
I'm
in the
just
sense
gonna
that we
say,
just,
like,
yeah,
speak from the eye.
yes,
You,
yes,
why does that matter? Because when I'm speaking to, I've done this so many times.
yeah,
Human beings are so like, we want to be in a collective, and
yes,
human beings,
yes,
when talking about something so vulnerable, human beings have the tendency to displace to the we, how we all, how you feel this
yeah,
way. And it's really normal to do that. And it's not a huge problem. I just think there's an opportunity in even your language that you're using to
yes,
describe your story and your
yeah,
feelings that
yeah.
you can really
Kind of
ground
own
in
it.
the real. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
100%, because I think working in a very corporate environment, we're not used to taking credit for things. And so I think I'm
Yeah.
so used to being like, well, we all think, and it's like this
Yes.
collective we rather than like I feel. So I like that you called that
Yes.
out because it's not something that I'm conscious of. So I will actively, I might need a couple more reminders, but
Well, and
maybe that's part of
I
my
don't want
homework,
to,
you know?
right. And I don't want to
Yeah,
interrupt your share because I hear your intention and there's nothing wrong.
yeah,
Like, there's no
yeah,
pathological reason why, like, don't do we because it's work. But I think that there's an opportunity here for you to really, like, if you're talking about the macro being reflected, if we are talking about you and I talking about the macro
yeah,
being reflected in the micro, there's an
yeah,
opportunity here for you to be the main character of your story
yeah. Love
in
that.
this moment by
Yeah,
grounding in I
yes,
statements, because you
yes.
said in the like, is there anything else we need to know about you? You said, I've had three past relationships where I've stayed long after I knew things were over. I want to break the pattern and find an amazing partner. And I see a potential little glimmer
Mhm.
of making yourself smaller. Now, I may be wrong.
Mm. Yeah, I have a hard time owning things. I think myself and the I and expressing through feelings, through hard conversations, things like that. So I think that's something that's really beautiful that you called out that I think can help me kind of own my story and not kind of muddle it down a little bit. So I
Yeah,
love
no
that.
need to be
Yeah.
palatable or be corporate. Like
Yes.
if I get that it's been sort of like
Yeah.
drilled into you in a couple different
Ingrained.
environments, but I do think the way
Yeah.
we do one thing is the way we do everything. The way I do one thing is the way I do everything. And so if I am struggling, if you are struggling with owning how you feel, taking up space with your story, your needs, your asks, then of course being
It
in
ripples in other
relationships
things.
where you
Yeah.
were met fully would be a struggle.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Yeah, it's usually a common thread. Yeah.
Okay.
Mic drop. Yeah.
So let's get into, and look, people might be listening to this and they're like, "Lily, you're reading way too much into this one
No.
we versus I thing." And if you think that, totally fine. I'm just curious about, in these sessions, I'm always looking for the thread that resonates that
Yeah.
we can then follow to
Yes.
create a more empowered love life experience. So let's get
Yeah.
into those three past relationships where you, quote, stayed long after I knew things were over. Tell me about
Yeah.
what was going on there.
Okay. Well, uh, first first relationship, and again, I don't know if this is a late bloomer thing, but my first relationship was when I was 25.
Hmm.
Previous to that, I'd
Did it
had,
feel like you were
like
a late bloomer? Like, was it like you were judging yourself for it being so late at
maybe even
25?
a little bit, maybe even a little bit, but at the same time, not really, because I just wasn't in that headspace. I think compared to a lot of my friends, they had found relationships in high school, early university. I wasn't necessarily not seeking a relationship. I was very much of the thought of if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. Meanwhile, I'm living my life. Meanwhile, I'm going out with friends. We're going to
Yeah.
parties. Organically through meeting people. If it ends up being that I meet someone that I connect with and ends up being in a relationship, sure. But I was never like actively looking for it. And at that time, my first relationship, apps didn't exist. So I remember when Tinder first came out, and I remember running out of matches when I first started. So this is dating back quite some time. But when I met my first boyfriend, it was actually at a bar. I remember locking eyes and being like, "This boy is so cute, and I'm gonna go up to him and just tell him that."
Oh
And
my
so that's
God.
exactly what a little bit of liquid courage, friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a little bit of that involved, but I remember beelining to him, talking the entire night, and it was just that instant kind of click for me. And I remember being very head over heels very quickly for him. Like I think things progressed very quickly. I really liked him. He called me, which was like at that point texting was very normal. So the fact I was very impressed, he called me, asked me out. There was intention, and that relationship lasted 5 years. Which, having been in no relationship to being in a relationship for 5 years, especially 25 to 30, there's a lot that happens. Like I remember there's a lot of career shifts. You're graduating from university. Like there's a lot of big life milestones that also happened during that period. But I remember being of the mentality of like, this is going to be the person that I'm going to marry. Like I was convinced. I was like so just obsessed with him, and everything was so great. And that spark and that feeling lasted for all 3 years of the relationship. I didn't feel like it faded before that. And so I think that surprised a lot of people when I would talk about that, because they're like, the honeymoon typically phases, out in the first year, but I didn't have that experience. I was really confident this is going to be the person I would marry. And then slowly over time, 3 years in, I started to feel suffocated, a little bit like I was losing who I was. And I don't remember exactly like the moment. I just remember this overwhelming feeling of something's shifted, something's changed, where I think I was growing and changing in different ways through different life experiences. And I just was wondering, like, is this it? Like, I remember thinking, like, oh, I love him so much. I care about him so much. And I would marry him before I would break up with him. Like, I remember thinking, it's all or nothing. And I think this came from growing up with parents who were married for a very, very long time. But there was this sense of they were just staying together to stay together, but I never saw active love between them, if that makes sense. So no showing of like, holding hands, going on dates with each other, no kissing. So like I grew up seeing two friends, very close friends that were living together. And so that was my idea of what a relationship should look like, is like you're best friends, you're fully ingrained. I'm talking like joint, bank accounts, like everything is enmeshed completely. But what I found with that was then I lost who I was on my own. It was, same friend groups. If I wanted to do plans, I was bringing him along with me. He didn't have his own hobbies. So like everything was just togetherness, like codependency, pretty much. Like, and again, I've done a lot of therapy, a lot of reading. I'm really into kind of relationship dynamics and things like that. But I feel like that first relationship for me was so ingrained that it was so hard to leave. And it took therapy for 2 years to get me to the point where I felt like I could actually leave that relationship, because I felt a
Yeah.
lot of guilt. I was like, this was my person. What happened of something that I can fix, that I need to fix
Yeah.
to be back into the relationship? Like I
Yeah.
kind of blamed myself for why I felt different or things were changing with me.
Mhm. Is guilt a common feeling that you experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
Tell me more. What comes up for you when I say that?
yeah. So I often, I think, second guess myself. And it comes through guilt is one of the ways that I describe it, because there's a sense of I don't want to deceive this person or upset this person and have them be angry at me, because I think a lot of that came from my family dynamics growing up. But there was also this portion of, well, no, like a self-convincing of it's not that bad, right? Like there was all these great years and it's really not that bad compared to these other relationships. Maybe if I stay longer and I go to therapy, I can fix it. I can stay in the relationship and be with this person, and that love and those feelings that I felt would come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just asked because you mentioned the feeling of guilt. You mentioned that word guilt and that feeling around your friends when they came to visit after your breakup and you
Yeah.
felt guilty that you felt in a way that you couldn't you were like maybe blaming yourself for feeling poorly and then like feeling guilty you couldn't fix it.
Yeah. I think that's a common thread, is me not wanting to make other people feel a certain kind of way, whether that's like upset or disappointed. I think I like feel guilty for the feelings that I'm actually feeling and feel
Yeah.
this need to fix them.
Well, and this idea that I'm hearing that is obviously like Marissa's so common. I feel
Yeah.
I struggle with this too, being
Yeah.
socialized as a woman in the world, specifically, I mean, in the
Yeah.
Western world, that in which the culture around like patriarchy, capitalism, misogyny, white supremacy
Yeah.
that has created
Yeah.
a hot soup of it's created more difficulty for women and especially women of color and folks with multiple marginalized identities. Like,
Yes.
of course you have this guilt of
Yes.
like not wanting to
Yeah.
impose. Of course you want to
Yeah.
make yourself smaller. Of course you have this thought, I need to shrink my needs in order for
Yes.
like essentially what I'm hearing, and you can tell me if it doesn't resonate,
Mhm.
is I can in the first relationship where you were trying to fix it, it's like
Yes.
if my needs were just different,
Yeah.
then this would be better. And that's what I should do then. I should make my needs different. In
Yeah.
essence, like shrinking what is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it was like there's that side of it. And then, but the idea of if he proposed tomorrow, that would be the worst thing that he could ask me because I would have to actually say no,
Confront it.
right?
Yeah.
Like confront it head on. So it was like
Yeah.
this dueling, but I think you nailed it with what you just said, because I think it sparked so many things for me. Is, and I think, and we'll probably talk about it, but this is a common thread. This is a common
Okay,
thread
let's
in all of my
tell me more.
relationships.
Tell me more. Like let's follow the
Yeah.
thread then. What comes
Yeah, let's
up for
follow the
you?
thread. Okay. Okay. So when I was finally able to get the courage to leave that relationship,
Yeah.
I was single for 3 months.
Okay.
So I, through mutual friends, met another guy, really great, made me laugh. COVID hit. So he was
Can we
my COVID
pause?
relationship. Yes. Yes.
In those 3 months, were you
Yes.
looking? Were you like excited to date? How are you feeling?
Yes. So I think because I had wanted or had this sense of I'm not in the right relationship, within the first 3 years of my relationship, that when I finally could leave, I was excited about dating at that point because I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like there's endless possibilities. I was excited to get out there. So I remember like
I
I was
didn't
on the
marry the
app.
wrong person. Like,
No, exactly.
yeah.
Life is full again. So I
Yeah.
didn't have the grieving process with that. Like I was almost like, as I was in the relationship, I kind of went through that grieving process because it was
Gotcha.
so intense to finally leave, that when I was finally free or out of that relationship, I was like a kid in the candy shop. I was
Gotcha.
swiping, going on dates, having the time of my life. Um,
So you
so
were
when
in
I
this new
met,
relationship,
yes,
COVID, go for it.
COVID happens. We survived it together. To be honest, like I don't think I could have got through COVID without him, to be quite honest, just having somebody there. But it also moved very quick because pretty much we had met 4 months before COVID. COVID then left me living on my own by myself in Toronto. I asked him to move in with me because he was living with his parents at the time. So we moved in within like 3 to 4 months. But honestly, great. Like, had a lot of fun together. But when COVID ended, we hadn't had the pre-COVID dating experience of actually going on dates, of the courtship, of the
Mhm.
conversations, of all of these things. It was like we were living in a bit of a bubble. But the common thread that I feel like I felt in that relationship was every time I would bring up hard things or feelings or needs and would try to express that, he would get very angry and very defensive, and
Mm.
kind of gas it, like put it back on me. Well, you're just asking for too much, or that's something that I can't do. And so specifically around, I think, the way that we showed love. So I'm very much, I need physical affection. So I'm very much
Mm-hmm.
someone that needs to feel that physical touch, the holding the hands, to be intimate with someone in any kind of way. And he pretty much told me I am not a physically affectionate person, so I can't give that to you. And so I was like, okay, well, we're at a bit of a standstill because I can't be intimate with someone where I don't feel that sort of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we pretty much weren't intimate for like 2 years of the relationship.
Wow.
Yes,
During lockdown, after lockdown,
during and after lockdown.
what was the impetus to stay?
Like in the relationship.
Yeah.
Hmm. So again, I had a really hard time being like, okay, this is important enough to me, is an actual need and something that I need. And instead, I treated it as it's an option. It's okay if it's not there. I feel really lonely. I feel really lonely and really sad,
Yeah.
but he makes me laugh and it's good enough and it's better than my last relationship. So I have no big reason to leave.
Oh, Marissa, I just want to give that version of you a big hug.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I think, ooh, I'm going to get like a little bit emotional. But I think I felt very alone in a lot of my relationships because I feel like I haven't been able to express and understand my own needs enough to know this isn't it, right? I tend to stay and negotiate with myself of I think this is an optional. I like, and I think I haven't really understood that. Like, no, this is something core, and it
Mm,
does exist. But if
mm,
I don't leave, I'll never find out.
mm.
You know, so the staying has been a common those two relationships. It was never an option that I thought of. I was almost praying that he would break up with me to then allow me to explore other options.
Give you the permission to do what you wanted to do.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's like, even though I can feel it, I couldn't bring myself to do it again. So like the same thing happened in my second relationship.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind if we talk about sex for a second?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't sure if we were allowed to talk about that
I
openly, so I didn't.
love talking about sex.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
so
Okay.
he wasn't interested in sex, or was it more like you didn't feel as connected in general, so like it just wasn't something that was on the table?
Exactly. So like I had convinced myself that I wasn't a sexual person, even though it's quite the opposite. Quite the opposite.
Mm.
But I think his way about initiating felt like I couldn't connect because he was very almost like childish and jokey with it. So it's like
Mm.
instead of being like more demanding and upfront and like more sexual, he would be like trying to tickle me and teasing and then change it into something sexual. And so for
Yeah.
me, I was just kind of confused and kind of icky and
Yeah.
just wasn't interested in
Did
it.
you ever talk about that?
Yes, which is where the conversation of he was like, in those instances, I'm actually trying to initiate, and I really didn't understand that. And I was like, for
Yeah.
me, that puts me in a mentality of like we're having fun and joking, but then you've made it sexual. And I was like,
Yeah.
for me, I need more of the intimacy, the holding hands, the arm around the
Yeah.
shoulder, the kind of like a different sort of approach.
Yeah.
And again, was met with, well, that's not who I am. And so I just felt
Hmm.
like we couldn't figure it out. Like we talked about it quite a few times and it
And
just
you
didn't align. Yeah.
okay. And he wasn't, I mean, yeah, that's really tough that you had such different ways in, and he sounds
Yeah.
somewhat, somewhat
He
unwilling
was a
to
little
try new
rigid.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, he
rigidity
was
is what I
kind
was
of,
hearing too.
yeah, like a little bit less trying to understand and being flexible and trying things out. And I think it was like, well, it has to be this way because this is how I feel about it. And like, I do remember too, I think part of this too wasn't just in the initiation, but also when we were early dating, I would try to initiate in different ways of ways that I feel sexually attracted to someone through like massages and things like that. And a couple times he would say, this feels forced or this doesn't feel natural and like I want to stop. And so I
Okay.
felt a little bit of shame. I think also because the things that I was trying, he was kind of like, nah, this isn't for me. I don't really like this.
Yeah.
This is feeling weird, but did it in a way that wasn't like, hey, like let's try something else, or like it wasn't met with an openness and curiosity. And I've had a lot
Yeah.
of, I think, again, guilt and shame around sex and feeling
Yeah.
like a sexual person and allowing myself to actually be open. And
Yeah.
so when it was met with someone who's also like that, it just reaffirmed
Right. You
those
both were struggling
messages.
with something very similar, right? Because he was trying to initiate in one way that you didn't
Yeah.
like. You were
Yeah.
initiated in a way that he didn't like. And it was, were you trying to make his way work, or was it like, this is absolutely not, can you like try something? You were saying, can you try something different?
Yeah. I was kind of just like, can we try this? And it was just like always met with like, well, no. And so it felt like I was up against a wall in the sense that I was like, okay, like maybe I'm just not, again, maybe I'm not a sexual person and maybe sex isn't as important, right? We
Yeah.
lasted 2 years without it. The friendship and the partnership is strong enough that like maybe that's enough.
Yeah, I'm sorry that that sounds really hard. And I think that I just am sensitive to, I have a couple of friends who are like sex coaches, and I really love talking about sex. I feel like in another life, I'm not a sex educator, I'm not a sex coach. I can recommend them. Let me name some names.
Yeah.
Danielle
Yeah.
Savory, It's My Pleasure podcast. Dr. Juliana
Yeah.
Hauser has a book coming out soon. I love Come As You Are by Emily
As you are. Yeah.
Nagoski. The Vanessa Marin has Sex Talks, the book. I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
a lot of great resources there. But I'm very sensitive to this idea of like women and people socialized as women really owning their sexuality and really
Yeah.
stepping into sexuality as a portal, a one portal to a type of freedom, and I think
Yeah.
that this idea of, oh, the conditioning, the misogyny that exists of like, oh, women just shouldn't want, women are shouldn't want sex,
Yeah.
are here to service specifically men.
Mhm.
The like idea of, I mean, I could go on, but I do think
No,
for women
yeah.
who date men
I could,
specifically,
yeah, echo
this is a
all of those because I think,
huge issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like growing up, I think like I've only ever had the bad experiences that I think you come to think that that's like normal, right? I think there's a lot of people that have had great sexual experiences with partners that have been open, that they've tried things, they figured themselves out through partnership. I've had the opposite where it's always felt like this is just something that I need to do to keep them happy, which is like a
Mm,
really interesting thing that like it's shifted because I've had a couple experiences since then. But I think if you don't have those experiences, it's so hard to not think that what you're experiencing is normal, right?
yeah.
Because when the message is
Yeah.
just like repeated over and over and over again, that the guy doesn't ask
Yeah.
you, does this feel good? How can I, I just feel like there's this impatience with
Hmm.
men that it needs to happen now. And if it's not happening, it's like, oh, are you okay? Is there something wrong with
Mm.
you?
Well, let's pause and really,
Yeah.
like, words are magic wands. You just
Mhm.
said there's something with men where they don't fill in the blank. And so I'm going to ask you to really be specific in your language about the men who were
Yeah.
wrong for you, who did not check in with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I have had a lot of experiences with men in particular that have shown me that there is only one way
Yeah.
of, having sex, or this is what should feel good. And that's said
Yeah.
to me when I haven't been able to come to completion, has always been, oh, is it because you're nervous? Or, oh, it's because haven't had enough experience. But the reality is I've had quite a bit of experience, but the experiences that I've had, at least to date, have
Yeah.
always been mostly focused on the male pleasure always,
Yeah.
and making sure that they
Yeah.
feel good. And I've just completely forgotten about myself because I've
Yeah.
never had the opportunity or someone to actually ask.
Well, I think that's really normal and unfortunate that it's so
Yeah.
normal. And I think
Yeah.
also that it doesn't have to be your future. In fact, I think that that is and can be a qualifier disqualifier for you in the future.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
that,
Yes.
like, I know personally from my own sexual experience that, and I
Yeah.
don't have, I have had some sexual, I haven't had like, I felt like a late bloomer. I came to sex what I felt was a little later. I had sex for the first time
Mhm.
when I was 25 and had a few like hard sexual experiences that I wouldn't want to repeat. A lot of sexual
Mhm.
experiences that were with men specifically who really showed up, and like I know that it's possible because of my own experience with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I've had some really shitty experiences as well. So I think it's that like both and that a lot of people carry around. And what I hear you
Yeah.
saying is that you've had one way, which is like shitty.
Yeah. Like I think,
Like not
I mean,
not fun.
I mean, the good news is, since moving to Spain, I have had one sexual experience and person that completely changed everything, everything for me.
Amazing.
Yeah. I called him my Christian Grey. I don't know. For me, I give people nicknames.
Yeah.
Especially in like early dating. He was known as C, or Christian, for Christian Grey. He approached it with such interest and intrigue, and in the sense that, like, let's figure this
Cool.
out together. We're a team. Let's try toys. Let's try whatever is going to work. I'm here. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
And it just took this pressure off, because I was like,
Mm.
wow, like, he's not here for the end goal. It's not about the end goal. He wants to help me find what feels good for me. And I was the first person that's ever done that.
That's wonderful. Thank you, more
Yes.
please to that.
Yes. Yes. More and more of the Christians, please. I need to like sprinkle that in, because I think
Yeah.
it's I realize I am a very sexual person, and I do
Yeah.
have needs, and I
Yes.
want someone who wants to help me feel good at the
There
end
you
of the
go.
day. Yeah.
I want you to
Yeah.
write that down after this
Yes.
session. I
Yes.
want someone who makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, I think it's been part of the thread of like it's an option. I'm starting to, I think, realize, and also through talking with you right now, I'm realizing I think there's something that are actually not an optional. It's something that I actually want in a relationship, because I don't want to be in a relationship where I feel alone. I don't feel like I'm being sexually satisfied. I just, I would rather be by myself than experience the types of relationships I've had
Mhm.
to date.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that,
Mhm.
we look at our parents as examples for better or worse. And I think that a lot of folks are trying their best. And as
Yeah.
I hear all the time, like a lot of kids don't want what their parents had. My parents got divorced when I was an adult. And I hear like if you grew up seeing a platonic marital relationship that they decided to be in,
Yeah.
maybe of course your little baby brain would organize that as like friendship is good enough for a
Yeah.
romantic partnership. And instead
Yeah.
of friendship can be one beautiful part of a thriving romantic relationship.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's also, again, the friends that you have around you, the information you have around you, that starts to formulate what opportunities and other there is, right? Because I
Yeah.
think, yeah, growing up, my parents were platonic. My parents actually just separated last year. Yeah, which was crazy. That was a whole other thing. But again, me and my brother were very cognizant and conscious of the fact that our parents were in a platonic friend based relationship where they were not having sex. at all. Like how me and him were formed is beyond me because I think
Mm,
other than that, I think there were a lot of issues sexually with their relationship as well. And so I think we learned, well, even if it's not great, you stay and you work it out, right? And so I've been having to try to unravel that slowly. And I will say, I think since these first two relationships, I've gotten better at not staying as long. So even
yeah.
if there's a little bit of progress, it's been that I don't stay for 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe if I stay for then 6 months, and then maybe it's 2 months, but that
Yeah.
window is getting smaller, at
Yeah,
least.
for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that you're recognizing that, and that's wonderful. And I want to go to, like, you said, why do you want to address this challenge now in your application? You said, I'd like to learn practical skills I can put into place. I've got the
yeah,
desire to learn and grow, but lack the guidance and could use some help. So tell me now, pivoting to like what now?
yeah,
How
yeah.
can I support you
Oh,
in the what now of it all?
yeah. So I think dating now has been very interesting because I think I've had these different experiences that's really changed my outlook on to like what exists
Yeah,
in terms of relationships for me. I think what I'm struggling with now is on one side, I'm saying no quicker to people, that I
great,
think I'm listening more to my gut. And listen, if it's a no, it's a no. I'm not doing the whole force myself to go on 4 dates to think, to see if things
great.
change and evolve. I'm just kind of listening internally. I'm like, if I'm like, there's some people that I'm like, yes. So let's
Yeah,
lean into the people that I'm like, yes, I want to see them again. And the people that I'm not really sure about, it's kind of a no for me.
yeah.
And that's been helping guide me a little bit. But I think what's happening is as I'm starting to get to know people, I'm going on these dates and I start to see these familiar pieces in terms of, okay, we sleep together and he's not asking. What do I do with that? Like, is this something that maybe I have to start advocating for myself and speaking to them about what I like and telling them my past experiences? Like, I don't know how to navigate. Is it just about finding someone and going on these dates until I find someone that's open again in the bedroom that can facilitate this?
Hmm.
Or do I have to coach and train and work on that with someone if there's
Mm,
other
mm.
qualities that I think are worth investing in that person?
I think it's a spectrum. I don't think that
Hmm.
it's like an either or,
Hmm.
because everybody has a different expectation of what a first sexual encounter will look and feel like. What I
Yeah.
want to say, what I don't want to say.
Yeah.
And I think that we can decide together what is your spectrum of yes and no. What are you
Hmm.
willing to teach and express and say
Yeah.
which is, I think, every sexual partner, you're going to need to teach them what you like because
Of
every
course.
person likes something different.
Yeah.
Both, and we can determine like what the spectrum is of like, okay, you're not the type of partner that I need and want. So what's coming up for you as I
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah. So what's interesting is like I think if I zoom out, it's not so much about like in the bedroom that they're asking and they're prompting. I think it more is having someone who is curious about me and has a desire to get to know me and asks those questions because I have had experiences with a guy that I saw a little while ago that was like when I was having issues or challenges in the bedroom, he separately actually asked. He was like, "Can I ask something? Like when you were going through that in the moment, what was coming up for you? Can I do something
That's
different?" Like there
wonderful.
was that beautiful, beautiful. And
That
again,
is
these
the
are the little,
standard. That's the standard.
yes.
So
Hmm.
that's the standard.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. This is helpful because I think this is what I'm trying to discern, right?
Well, you're
It's
looking,
like,
I mean, well, here's a micro macro moment. You're asking for
yeah,
permission from me, which is fine, to want what you want.
yes, yep, yep. It's again, it's like I'm almost like asking permission to be okay with waiting until that level of person or those things are present in someone, right? Because I think I'm like, well, am I out to lunch? Like, is this one in a million? And am I better off? Again,
You
yeah,
experienced it once that somebody was
yeah.
curious. Great. Then if that person exists, then it's probable that other
There's
people
another
exist like
one.
him.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think just also hearing that, I think it's
Yeah.
sometimes like getting that validation from someone is so
Yeah.
key for me because I think I'm a lot in my head. I question. And so when somebody can say like, no, like you are deserving of that. And like, if that exists and you're going to find that again, I think that's
Yeah.
like, that's all I need sometimes to
Great.
hear.
And I think external validation is something that all humans
Need
crave
a
at
little
some
bit.
level, and that's really
Yeah.
normal. I would say
Yeah.
it's a both and. If like you get to ask for what you want, whether it's, hey, friend, can you just tell me that I'm not asking for too much and that like I'm gonna be okay? Can you tell me that out loud? Can I hear you say
Yeah.
that? Like that's
Yes.
totally fine. Like asking me
Yeah.
to affirm your preferences is a totally fine ask. And
Mhm.
what I do see as your growth edge as a human
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
is noticing how often you doubt your inner knowing. A quick message from today's sponsor of this episode, my book, Thank You More Please, a feminist guide to breaking dumb dating rules and finding love. If you are enjoying this podcast, if you're enjoying these conversations, if you want a step-by-step guide to creating a joyful dating life on your terms, if you want to release all of the patriarchal BS dating rules that you've been taught, like you're being too picky, or just give them another chance, or just be more in your divine feminine and it'll all happen. If you're done with that kind of advice and you want to step into your power in your dating life, you want to step into radical self acceptance and self confidence in your dating life, if you want to start magnetizing the right dates to you, with more ease than you thought possible, then Thank You More Please, my book, is going to change your life. It is step by step and filled with my own personal stories where I get really vulnerable and share all of my misadventures in my dating life, from settling in toxic situationships to ending up in Paris with somebody who asked for an open relationship on our first night there, to then breaking up with matchmaking and starting Date Brazen and meeting the love of my life, Chris. All of it is in there. It's been called a hilarious page turner. So I think you're going to love it. Go to datebrazen.com/book to not only get Thank You More Please, and I also do the audiobook, so you can do ebook, audiobook, or regular hard copy. You can also get a special bonus, which is the dating life fix. I identified 10 top issues you are probably facing in your dating life and outline exactly which podcast episodes of my podcast to listen to get that problem fixed in your dating life really, really quickly. So go to datebrazen.com/book to get Thank You More Please. It's sold everywhere books are sold, and also to get the dating life fix bonus. Now, let's get back into the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Or think I'm like not deserving maybe on some level, or maybe not for me. Because I think often, like when I've heard friends say like, no, like you deserve someone who's as incredible as you are. Just to hear that from someone, you're like, okay, if they're saying it,
Yeah.
maybe there's something. And I think I've struggled a lot with just like self-confidence and like I am deserving of that level of partner, and I
Yeah.
am okay with owning I'm willing to wait until I feel like that again, rather than negotiating with myself, being like, well,
Well,
maybe.
let's
Yeah.
pause with the waiting of like, what are you
Mhm.
making waiting mean?
Mm.
Or like the
I
time
think
that it takes. What are you making that mean?
I think I'm making it in the sense that okay, I may have to go on a lot of dates, meet a lot of people until I find someone with these qualities that I'm looking for.
And so what? Why is that a problem in your brain? Like in your default brain, not in your like, I know what Lily wants me to say brain, but like, why has that been a problem?
I think I want to be with someone and want to find that person. Like, I think I've
Mhm.
always prioritized that above friends, family, career. It's always been the number one priority. And not in the sense that I'm in a rush, because, like, I personally have made the decision I don't want children. So for me, it's not a biological clock thing, but it's like I'm so eager to give the love and the care and like that to another person. It's not about just
Yeah.
having someone to have someone. It's about
Yeah.
wanting to find that person that I feel we can build something together with and I can give that person the love that I know I have. I've just been feeling like I'm not giving it to the right people.
What's coming up for me is that it's difficult for you to receive the level of love that you give, that it's much more
Mm.
comfortable to give
Yeah.
and try to prove with giving.
Yeah, or maybe trying to find the people sometimes on some level that when I see the signs that there's incompatibility or I know they're not going to be able to meet my needs, I have a hard time with being like, okay, well, not this person, you know?
I think it goes back to like a worthiness thing. I'm worthy of
Yeah.
deservedness. That's a complicated concept that some brains
Yeah.
easily latch onto. Other brains, because of particular past circumstances, have more difficulty.
Mm.
The concept of deservedness is complicated. I think the concept of worthiness is infinitely simpler.
Yeah.
I'm a human
Yeah.
being on this earth who is breathing. Therefore, I
Yes.
am worthy of expressing and asking and being in relationship
Hmm.
that feels mutual and satisfactory with myself and others.
Yes. And I think I have a really hard time with that. Like everything you just said of like I think staying in relationships that I knew weren't good for me, dating people that I could tell early on wasn't really a fit because I think on some level there's a fear of actually finding someone that might actually meet my needs.
Yeah.
Or, and there's a lot of thoughts that go, I think this resonates probably with a lot of people, but it's also like, well, does this person really exist? you know? But I think when you just said, but you experienced it. And I've had little nuggets of these different things on a sexual side, on a emotional safety and someone who's going to listen to me and all those things. Like I've had bits and pieces. I just haven't found someone or met someone yet that embodies all of those things that I'm
Mhm.
looking for.
What thought do you think are you currently practicing in your brain that may feel like a truth or a belief that spurs the feeling of unworthiness for you? Can you identify that thought
Hmm.
or like assumption?
I think it's the assumption that because I haven't found it yet, it
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And
Uh-huh.
so it's not so much I think like I'm unworthy of it. I've convinced myself that my needs in a person will not exist. And so I'm going to have to compromise my needs.
Well, so in that way, like I am too much, my needs are too much. I need to fix my needs. Hence why you went, without sex for 2 years. Hence why you struggled to break it off with your first boyfriend. I think that that's like the thread here, which is
Yeah.
I haven't found it yet, so it doesn't exist. So I'm asking for too much.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to, and this is very just like understandable, normal, like you're one of millions of people who this happens to, especially for people socialized as women. This is
Yeah.
very common. And I also wanted to bring up the idea that women in particular carry, people socialized as women carry, which is that I need to struggle in order to be worthy of something. It needs to feel like hard work because
Yeah.
it is not safe for things to feel more easeful. It's not actually normal for me to feel cared for in this way.
Yeah, it's like if I met more people, I think, or had dates with people that embody those characteristics, it'd be like, okay, like this is very common. There's actually lots of people that are, you know, open or I don't know. I feel like but also I wonder if when I first meet people, I'm already trying to analyze where they fall in the spectrum and maybe not also giving it an opportunity for me to see through more dates. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that
Yeah.
I don't that's not what I'm hearing. You said it's been very common that you've found people who don't meet your needs, who don't get curious, who don't ask you questions, who don't show up for you in the way that you want to show up for. You know what else is really common?
Mm.
Settling.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mhm.
That's why
Yep.
most people, unfortunately, know someone, if not many people, who have settled.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of ways to do relationship. I don't think that a
Mhm.
relationship, lasting and then ending is a failure necessarily. Like I love how, Amy Poehler talks about her relationship ending in her book Yes Please, of like we had 10 years together. Like it was a beautiful and
Yeah.
intense 10 years, and like that's not a failure. I'm not saying
Yeah.
settling means you'll be forever with one person, and if you aren't with one person then you've settled. I'm saying your relationship inside of it gets to feel, it is a requirement that every relationship that you choose in your life feels
Mhm.
mutual, satisfactory, joyful. Like that's my
Yeah.
belief anyway. Now, relationships with
Yeah.
people that you don't choose, right? Like some relationships with family, some relationships, like those
Yes.
can be different. Every relationship that
Yeah.
you choose needs to,
Yeah.
in my opinion, gets to be extraordinary.
That's
And that's
beautiful.
not as
I really like
common
that.
as settling. So of course you're for the few, not for the many. Like, yeah, it may
Yes.
take a little while, but what I
Yeah.
don't want for you is to convince yourself that your needs are wrong.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it, is like I think me learning how to own my needs as my needs, and they're important, and if I find someone that I don't think can meet them, being okay with saying no, not for me, because I think I have not been able to break up a relationship once I'm in it. So I think what happens before that, I think becomes more critical, to make sure that I'm making the right choices for myself before I commit to being in a relationship with someone.
Well, and there we have another piece that we could talk about for another hour, which is the idea of trusting yourself next time that you can end something that is not right for
Yes,
you.
yes.
You
Amen.
have not, you have not yet, right? You said, I have
Yes,
not been able to. I
yes.
would
But it
add,
doesn't
like,
mean,
I have not yet.
yes,
You have these skills to know what you want now. And I think your homework after this session is to inventory your needs and wants, like, literally just write them down, not in a rigid checklist way, but in a really self permissive. I need somebody who
yeah,
checks in with how I'm
yeah,
feeling, who if they notice that I'm holding back or I'm struggling, they get curious about it. If they are holding back or struggling, I get curious about it. So maybe I just, this is like, your needs aren't more important than anybody else's, and
no,
they're the same level of important.
yes, yes.
And they're I am into that. They are more important because you're the only one who can get them met.
Well, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So I
Oh,
want you to inventory your needs and wants after
yeah,
this session, like write them
yeah,
down with like a big permission slip. I have permission to want what I want. I have permission. Like something rare still
yeah,
exists. If
yeah.
something didn't exist, then we would call it extinct. But beautiful, like stones that are found in nature that are quote rare, they exist.
Mhm,
Similar to
mhm.
how this man who you met who checked in asked about your needs, like
Yeah,
that man exists. So it's
yeah.
possible, probable that more men like him exist. So category your needs and wants with a big old permission slip. I want you
Okay.
to, even in the relationships in your life now, like friendships,
Mhm,
is there a
mhm.
need or a want that you're maybe holding back from asking for, that you
Hmm.
could start advocating for? The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so I think that like there could be ways in your friendships that you could practice this now
Yeah,
to start to
yeah,
normalize.
yeah, yeah. To dip my toe in a little bit.
There you
Yeah.
go. Lastly, I want you to do a big old self compassion meditation or a journaling exercise around your guilt and second guessing.
Mm.
I think what
Okay.
would be powerful for you is to take two colored pens.
Mhm.
One pen is your higher self, like this self that you may feel like after this session, hopefully, or like your older self potentially.
Yep.
The other self is
Yep.
the one that's like constantly doubting yourself, specifically in your love life. Have them have
Yep.
a conversation. You want curiosity from a future partner? Get fucking curious about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your higher self, your older self asking, like, why might you be second guessing yourself so much? Like, and don't couch it. Don't be like, well, I shouldn't, because no, be like, well, I may do this because of this in my childhood, or I may do this because of this experience where I was taught.
Yeah.
And then that
Yeah.
older self can be just like so fucking compassionate toward
Yeah.
the version of yourself second guessing. That's the tool to integrate to start to soften
Love
and
that.
release the self doubt.
I've got it.
Great.
I like
This
it.
is this is really great. I think that this is also going to set you up in your dating life for so many more pleasurable experiences and the right relationship
Agreed.
ultimately.
Agreed. Love that. Thank you so much. Honestly. Yeah, I love how you connected
Absolutely.
everything and just really resonated with me. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful to have coached you and yay! All right, talk to you
Yay.
soon.
Okay. Bye, Lily. Thank you.
Bye. That conversation was so powerful. Marissa, thank you for coming on this podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being willing to be coached and getting in there with me. I am so grateful that you allowed yourself to be seen and supported in that session. And for all of you listening, I hope that you implement any aha moments that you had. I hope that you do that journaling exercise that I gave Marissa at the end of the episode. Marissa, thank you so much for that powerful conversation. Thank you for allowing yourself to be seen and held and coached. It was my pleasure, and I'm really excited for what is to come. Everybody, I hope that you put these lessons into your pocket, walk around with a little more worthiness this week, a little less self doubt. I hope that you start asking for what you want right now in every relationship in your life. And I am so excited to bring you another episode next week. Bye.